In this slide, we are going to study a poem Kubla Khan. This slide is presenting the introduction of this poem. The subtitle of the poem is A Vision in a Dream, a Fragment. And this poem is completed in 1797 and published in 1816. Writer S.T. Coleridge, in his preface to Kubla Khan, says he composed the poem in one night. What was the situation before to complete the poem, before to compose the poem? He drank an opium, slept and dreamed. He got up from the dream and started to write. Before to sleep, he was reading a work of Xanadu. What is Xanadu? Xanadu is the summer palace of the Mongol ruler and emperor of China, Kublai Khan. There is also the statement given by some critics. Who is Kubla Khan? Kubla Khan is the heir of Genghis Khan. Okay, forget that. Now we are moving towards the poem. See, before to sleep, he was reading a work of Xanadu, the summer palace of the Mongol ruler and the emperor of China, Kublai Khan. But he was interrupted by a person from Perlock. He was interrupted by a person from Perlock. He wants to complete the poem in 200, 300 lines, but he couldn't because interruption caused him to forget the lines. He left it unpublished and kept it for private readings for his friends until 1816. But Lord Byron forced him to publish it. His friend Lord Byron forced him to publish it. The poem is vastly different in style from other poems written by Coleridge. Which are the other poems? The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Christabel, and so many things. The first stanza of the poem describes Khan's pleasure, means Kubla Khan's pleasure dome, built alongside a sacred river, fed by a powerful fountain. In the first stanza, we have seen pleasure dome means a great palace was built there. And what was there? There is a river alongside of that palace. And there is also fountain of that. The second stanza of the poem is the narrator's response to the power and effects of an Abyssinian maid's song. There is one lady in the second stanza, and that lady was singing a song. And what happened? Narrators of this poem listened that song, and he was greatly influenced by that song, and he was giving responses to that song that is presented in the second stanza, which enraptures him but leaves him unable to act on her inspiration unless he could hear her once again. See, he listened her but he could not do anything. He enwraps means that song enraptures him, means influence him, but leaves him unable to act on her inspiration. He could not do anything unless he could hear her once again. As we have seen, what is the title? A vision, subtitle, a vision in a dream, a fragment, and poem is also a vision. We have seen in the first two lines that poet was reading a book, Xanadu, and he slept with opium, and he dreamed, and that dream he presented into the poem. So, in the second stanza, what he dreamed, that Abyssinian maid, her song, and that's why he wants to complete his poem, but he could not because he wants to listen that lady once again in reality. In the third stanza, that is also the final stanza of this poem, poet shifts to a first person perspective of the speaker, detailing his sighting of a woman playing a dulcimer, and if he could review her song, he could fill the pleasure dome with music. He concludes by describing a hypothetical audience's reaction to the song in the language of religious ecstasy. See, in the final stanza, what we come to know, the speaker or a narrator of this poem is helpless. He wants to listen the songs of that lady once again. He has seen that pleasure dome, that palace of Kubla Khan. He knows that palace is too much famous, that Kubla Khan is remembered by so many generations because of his creation of that palace, Xanadu, that pleasure dome. And he also wants to be in the memory of the next generation, who that speaker, that narrator also wants to be in the memory of next generation, but he could not do anything. So what he was dreaming, what he was expecting that he wants to listen the music of that lady once again. Once he listen that music, then what will happen, he will complete his poem, and his poem will be what we can say so powerful that everyone will read it, and then he will be in the memory of all reader in the next generation. He concludes by describing a hypothetical audience's reaction to the song in the language of religious ecstasy. See, there are some comment given by so many critics on this poem. Some critic question the origin of the story. But later on, critics began to openly admire the poem. Most modern critics now view Kubla Khan as one of Coleridge's three great poems, along with the Rime of the Unsaid Mariner and Christabel. The poem is considered one of the most famous examples of romanticism in English poetry, and is one of the most frequently anthologized poems in the English language.